Welcome to a lesson on segment bisectors. If we have a given segment, a bisector would be a line, a ray, or a segment that bisects or cuts this given segment in half. If we were to find the midpoint so that these two segments on each side were equivalent, a bisector itself would either again be a array. You could have a ray like that. That would be considered to be bisecting that line segment. You could have a line that actually passes through that as a bisector, or you could have the very special case, which we use a lot, which is if the bisector happens to be a line or segment, or in this case, a line that is not only bisecting it, but perpendicular to that. We call that the perpendicular bisector. And we can see how that works in just a little bit using GeoGebra. I want to look at an algebraic example as well. Down here below, this is an example from our text where you can see the line segment is being bisected, and it happens to be perpendicular. So it's sort of asking us two things. One, the first thing it's asking is if this side of this segment, which is labeled 3x minus 6, is equivalent to this side of the segment, which is equal to 21, well, we could find the value of x just by making those two lengths, 3x minus 6, equivalent. So in this case, 3x minus 6 equals 21. If we add 6 to both sides, we find that 3x is 27, and then dividing by 3, we figure out that the value of x is 9. We already knew the segment length was 21, but we found the value of x, so we could find an algebraic approach. Since it's a perpendicular bisector, then every angle will be 90 degrees. So this angle down here labeled as 4y minus 2 degrees would be equivalent to 90. Again, if we were to add 2 to both sides, we would find 4y is 92. Then dividing by 4, we get, I believe, 23. You can always check me later and send me a message if I'm wrong. Let's take a look over at GeoGebra. On GeoGebra, if you have a given line segment, you can find the bisector by first finding the midpoint or finding the middle of the line segment. We've done this once before. I'm going to find the midpoint just by clicking on this line segment, and it has C. So if you were to draw any ray through this point in any way, it could be a ray that starts like that. It could also be a ray off the line that goes through that point. That's also a bisector. That's one way to bisect the line, or construct a bisector. It could be a line that goes through that. That's also a bisector. Remember that these diagrams are dynamic, so even if I were to move D, that's still a bisector. And then the most important one, or what I think is the most important one, is the perpendicular bisector. Let me take away point C for a second, because construct has that as a choice. The third one is called perpendicular bisector. If you choose that, the directions say select 2 points or one segment. So I could click A, B, or I could just click on the segment itself. I'm going to click the segment anywhere you want, and it constructs a perpendicular bisector. So it's cut it perfectly in half, and it's made 90 degree. It's crossing it, or where all the angles are 90 degrees. If you wanted a point there using the perpendicular bisector tool, you could either go back and click midpoint, it would put a point there, or since you already have it constructed, you could use the intersect feature, and that would intersect those two there. I hope that helps.